Okay, let's give a few more minutes before people can join.
बाबू को दिखा दो, मैंने देख
What's it? Couple of more minutes. All right, I think let's get started. So welcome everyone for this week's Tech Interchange. Let's start with here's today's agenda. Any new attendee, if any of you guys can speak up. Do we have any new attendees?
I see.
Who just joined today, or
I see Sue Chow and Sam Baxter. Sam, do you care to introduce yourself? Sue Chow, do you care to introduce yourself? You might have to unmute yourself. All right. Feel free
okay.
Later.
No worries. Okay, so let's go over some status updates on core OpenWhisk project. Matt is going to give us update on release process, and then David Grove will go on the Kubernetes. Carlos, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. You want to go?
let's see. For the just updates. Yeah, let me look at the.
Let me stop sharing and you can share.
Yeah, I can share the list. Just
Okay,
cover
I'm making
the commits
that.
from last time that we got together. Was May 19. Troubleshooting guide, licenses, a bunch of commits and licenses everywhere, but I think Matt will talk about that. Um, minor version to the iOS SDK starter app. We did Paul help updating with Swift 4, so if somebody's using that example and Swift, is we bump it up to Swift 4. It was very old. We also bumped Ansible 2.5.2, but before that, I think it was 2.5. So there were breaking changes for some people. So if you were having trouble with Ansible, that was the cause. It was because you needed to update Ansible to 2.5. And James Dooley was doing those updates and making sure that all the repos that use Ansible have the right version of Ansible. But for the other repos, they git clone the core repo, and then they run the setup in Travis, the setup.sh, and that takes care of the version. So I think the API gateway was the only one affected, and I think it got fixed. The cache database attachment that was open a long time ago got merged. That basically helps with Java actions. I know Ben from Red Hat was hitting some problems on performance because attachments were not being cached. So he tried with caching, and that helped performance in terms of catching that jar file for Java. Let me see what else we have. Updated the Docker runtime, but that's the Docker skeleton that we call. But if you use the CLI-native, I added the SSH client. It's not the daemon, just the SSH client to Alpine, and it was based on user feedback. Some users wanted to git clone, basically write like a bash script that will git clone a repository and then do something with it. But they wanted to use SSH git clone with the SSH format, and by not having the SSH client, that didn't work. So that got bumped in the runtime and then here in the main repo. The main README got updated to point to the Docker Compose. That would, if you install Docker for Mac or you already have Docker in Linux, it's faster to deploy with Docker Compose. You may not have all the configuration or all the control that you have with Ansible, but at least to get started is fast. So that's an alternative to Vagrant. Chance from Adobe helped with the diagram. There was a diagram that it has the console in there. That's very old. We don't use console anymore. So that got removed from the architecture diagram. So Chance helped with that diagram and made it using Draw, Draw.io, which is a good tool. That's it for runtime. Yeah, there was a email to the mailing list. For some reason, I missed it in my personal inbox filter that I have, but James pointed it out. It was around the weird corner case. We spent time, Eric from IBM also helped me, around Swift, that some Swift apps were not compiling if they had some type of struct. Basically, in the input was easy to replicate if you have two strings. I reported that to the Swift team, compiler team, contact a few people there, and they were able to reproduce, but it's fixed in master, it's fixed for .2. So we just put a workaround to not optimize when you compile. And that will help some folks. I don't think it didn't make a big difference in performance, but at least got worked around that problem that the user was complaining. So for 4.2, we'll put it back, the optimization flag, but that got updated into the core repo And I believe if you're using IBM Cloud, also got promoted. Yeah, it got promoted to IBM Cloud. So Vagrant, I think it was broken. Let me see. This one was broken on Windows. So on Windows, Vagrant was broken because it's not. Vagrant and Windows don't work together using soft links. So for whatever reason, the file system and the soft links don't behave correctly. So I switched from Vagrant. People cannot see this. For Vagrant to use CLI remote, so it's not compiling anymore. So it's just downloading the DGCs. More things around the security on NGINX from Vadim. This is from Roderick, and it specified artifact should be retrieved as a binary. I don't remember this one. Noise, Chetam keeps helping with Gradle and Gradle tests and DevOps. I'm really happy about that because I spent a lot of time in there, and he's cleaning up that stuff. So you don't see this extra S4J logger messages when you run Gradle and you download the log. So that's super good. I think I'm looking for Node.js got bumped, but it was a minor thing for the OpenWhisk package, npm package. I think that's it for the significant updates. I'm trying to see maybe it was done before the last meeting, but there was user feedback around somebody was trying to do cloud events with OpenWhisk, and there was application JSON but plus content type, and the controller wasn't taking that as JSON. So Marcus did that fix quickly, and it got promoted very quickly, and basically allow you to use application plus JSON as JSON. And there was a discussion, I think in Slack, around it, but I don't know where it is, but I know Marcus fixed that thing very quickly, so I appreciate that. I think those are the significant updates for now that I have.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Carlos. All right. Matt, you want to go next with the release process?
Thanks. I can share my screen. Is it? Somebody still have the screen shared?
Yeah, even I don't see it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. When in doubt, go to the menu. So what I wanted to say was that we've been pouring through all the repos with a fine-tooth comb. We've been enhancing scan code to explicitly include all file types and to get a comprehensive list. And I'm showing this in the release repo. So here's a set of rules for all the file types that we have encountered and what types of headers we recommend putting into the file types. And this is in the release repo documentation. It's under license compliance. And also we created an exclusion table with justifications. So we basically said these are the types of files that do not have headers, and we explicitly say why they don't have headers that match what Apache expects in terms of their policies, and that gave them a tag. Then furthermore, this is what I'm finishing today, is I'm going to create a discrete listing of all files and all repos that, with using the tags as a reference, to show which files do not have headers and exactly why they don't have headers. And this table actually shrank, I think, after today as well. So the plan is that we're going to do one more pass. I think there's a couple PRs open to update some Swift files that had bad headers. Once that's done, I'm gonna do some more scans with regex expressions, make sure we don't find any weird copied code, copyright, anything like that. Then I told my team that we're going to try to shoot for, and we'll start the process in the mailing list to begin the source code release process next week. So that's the plan. The only thing that I outstanding, I'll probably post the dev list as well, is that on the team meeting I had last night, there was concern about the jar and zip files that we included in the test folders, test dat folders for main OpenWhisk, that there might be stuff inside there that doesn't have headers. So we might have to discuss whether we strip those out of the source code release. Now, if anybody wants to state their opinions here on the email thread I'll start, then please let us know. So I could go through all the files. There's only like a dozen or so, I think, and just verify that. But we might have to repackage those zip and jar files, which might take some time, or else the other option is that we can just use the release tooling that Vincent has and strip out the test dat file directory completely. That's another option. So we'll get the opinions on the mailing list. That's all I had.
Any questions?
Yeah, that's good progress. Yeah, for those artifacts, yeah, we can discuss. We provide repo. There could be something around like a setup script that builds those things before running tests. So, but yeah, those compile artifacts should not be included in the source file. Doesn't matter what's the discussion. They cannot be.
All right.
I think it's up to exclude them for the first releases, and then build something that we can build them on the fly. Instructions.
Yeah, I agree, Carlos. I'm leaning in that direction as well. Yeah.
Yeah, not a big deal. Yeah.
Okay. So next, okay, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Carlos. So the next is on Helm chart, Kubernetes. Dave, you want to go?
Yep. Just trying to. Hopefully you're seeing my screen now. Just want to give people a quick update on this because I missed the call 2 weeks ago. So we've had a contribution of Helm charts to deploy on top of Kubernetes, and at this point that's actually fairly usable. So I'm just looking at the inside the OpenWhisk deploy kube tree. There's a Helm subdirectory, and there's a README in there. And deploying using Helm is actually quite simple. Step 1 and step 2 are just setting up your cluster and installing Helm. That's a one-time thing you do on each cluster. And then to actually deploy OpenWhisk, it's basically 2 commands. You create a namespace. Sorry, 3 commands. You have to label your nodes to the invoker role. You define a quick little YAML file, which specifies ingress characteristics. So this is all you need to deploy on Minikube. It's a quick YAML file like this. And then you do Helm install, a one-line command. You wait a minute or so, and OpenWhisk is up and running on your cluster. And so this has been, we're doing some of the Travis testing now. We're doing one of the tests with Helm, and the rest of the tests with the old style deploy mechanism. And my goal is within the next 2 weeks is to basically there's a few pieces of additional functionality that haven't been put into Helm yet, like choosing the container factory. But basically get that done, and then switch over to using Helm basically as the primary mechanism for deploying on Kubernetes. So things are going pretty well. It's much more convenient to use. And once it's deployed, all the Helm commands are available to you. So this is, I've deployed OpenWhisk on a 10-node cluster, and I can say, ask what the status is for this deployment, and it'll show me the pods that are running, the services. I've got 10 invokers here, controller, Kafka, all that kind of stuff. It's working quite well. Any questions about that?
Yeah, Dave, do you have a PR on flight? Was playing with Cube, but didn't do the Helm because I saw something around the API gateway or the ingress configuration wasn't merged.
Yes, so I have one PR in flight which fixes a couple things related to how the API gateway talks to the rest of the system. And I also have a related PR in flight in the CLI directory, which is fixing a bug about how things are configured there. I think you could go ahead and deploy without that PR, or actually maybe I could probably basically, I'm still in that PR because I'm trying to add a test to make sure that the API gateway actually works, and I can't get that to work in the Travis environment, even though it works on my laptop. So I might just give up on the test piece of it, get the PR merged, and come back to getting the test going later.
Okay. And the second comment was at least I can help and contribute for IBM Cloud to deploy. I got a cluster in the IBM Kubernetes service, so I'll be playing around with this repo to deploy to my. I have a simple three node cluster, so I'll be doing that, and I was doing that with not the Helm but the other ones, but I needed to modify certain files and got my Git repo dirty, and I'm OCD and I don't like that, so I will look into like maybe write a script or something that helps to configure and gen those files correctly for IBM, and then we can build a pattern of that, and then have other people, or I can try to get a cluster in the other like vendors and try to see if I can deploy it to different Kubernetes services on public clouds, just to find out what are the differences, because downstreams are kind of do a few changes to Kubernetes upstream, mostly for security reasons. But it'll be good to have that easily available for users, so they can just get a cluster from some public cloud and then just deploy OpenWhisk on top of it.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be great, and that's definitely. The cluster I was showing you is an IBM one, and so one of the things that's great with Helm is we can have template mechanisms inside of the YAML file. So I said by saying the ingress type is IBM standard, I then activate a bunch of parts of those templates that deploy with the proper ingress for our cloud. Whereas if you don't say that, it defaults to just the node port ingress. Sorry, the ingress is type node port, then it's from an EQ. And we can do the same thing for other cloud vendors. So we should be able to do it without having to have people change the contents of the Git repository at all. It should be clean. Just pick an ingress type, and you can drive that off the vendor.
Actually, that's the difference. I think so. Just I get an ingress host name and host domain and secret, but the rest was the same. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now that those come out of these properties, these YAML files that you give on the command line to Helm. So you can just have one file for each cluster that tells it, configures it, and that doesn't have to dirty up the repository.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I'm going to give it a try. And this is merge, or you said or wait for the merge?
That should be merged already.
Okay.
When they're in this README, the main Helm README, it tells you to go look at the ingress discussion. And that talks about setting up for Minikube and setting up for IBM Cloud. And I'd love to get stuff from other vendors here as well.
Yep.
Basically, you just follow those instructions, and you should be able to set up your cluster.yaml file, and then you can get it and get it to work. Okay. All right. Thanks, Bree. I think I took more than my comments.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, guys. All right. So next is Deploy. I wanted to show there have been a couple of concerns and questions regarding how do we specify credentials. We don't want to put them in the manifest or deployment file. Let me share my screen. So I just want to take a few minutes, and let's start with taking a very simple example of an action which are basically the basic action we generally use, hello world with two inputs, name and place. And we can specify the name and value. This works even today. There is nothing new here, but this is how you specify the inputs in the manifest file. Let's try to see. So basically what I'm going to show you is I want to So this is how it's going to be deployed. There will be bindings, name and place. Let's say if I want to replace these. So we added pretty much the similar interface what we have into CLI to here. So you can say name is my name and place is I live in San Jose. So basically it overrides whatever is specified in the manifest file. That's using --param and also --param file. Now this was the ask, and it's a very basic overwriting of the environment. I mean the inputs from the CLI. We have a few other use cases. So here you can specify the values coming in from the environment variable as well. And let's say when you say the environment variable is needed, is required, and if this is not set, then whisk deploy fails, saying that this particular input is required and not set. Let's say if we have set it, then it works the pretty much the same way as here. So my environment variable is set to Bob in California. So jumping on to the next example I have is we introduced something called the project inputs. Now at the project level, you can specify the inputs. Now the difference between project inputs and the package inputs or the other OpenWhisk entity inputs are these inputs are not propagated on the server. There is no concept as such a project on servers. So these particular variables stay in here, but these are very useful for the use case where you have specified a bunch of environment variables or inputs and they're needed, and you want to basically before deploying you want to see what comes out to be what value and what are needed, what all environment variables are needed from the user. So let's say if I just run preview, then basically it's the same. There are no inputs under there's no concept as such as project. So let's see what report. So we also introduced something called report, and it spits out what are the inputs and the values, and also under the action. Basically, it works for the all the entities. So I have one more example where basically now, so instead of having those two inputs under action, I moved them under the package, and it works pretty much the same way. And even we can override that too. So basically now overriding the package parameters with my name, and then the place remains the same. Now here in my last example, so here what I wanted to show is that we have package level inputs. We have bunch of actions, 3 actions, and this particular input is being shared. Basically, all the inputs are being shared, but this particular input, it's being overriding. Basically, we are propagating to the action level value. Here, it gets this value. So basically, we can say at the action level, we can specify what value we want, and basically it picks up that value. Here in this particular example, there is no input specified, so it basically gets the value from package. So I'll just show the preview. So 3 bindings under the package, and each one under the action. So this has been asked since I mean, there have been a lot of folks asking for this kind of multiple use cases, and we have a PR. We are soon going to merge it, so we'll have a release with all these changes and by this Friday.
Yeah, I'll review it. I'll
So,
review it today.
thanks, Matt. Any questions?
Brady, I have a question on the param file.
Sure.
So how do I scope? It looks like this is a global thing. So if I have two actions, how do I specify that I want to override name for the first action but not the second one?
So you basically just add that to that particular action. And for the second one, if you have already specified in a package, then you don't have to specify at the action level.
No, more simple than that. I don't have packages. I just have two actions. Like I want to override param name for one of the actions, not the other one. It looks like from the command line, when you do param name, is everything, all the parameters, doesn't matter where they are, they get replaced. There's no need to scope it. I think
No.
that could be a potential problem.
Oh,
Like name pretty, then anything, like any package, anything that has something param name, poof, gets overwritten. And maybe you don't want to do that. You want to scope it to this package or that action, not the rest. Don't touch the rest.
I see.
I see what you're saying, but I think that'll be a different feature and probably have some discussion. I think you get what you want as an author if you indicate the same $ valued for replacement, you're getting what you're asked for. So if you want to control at that level, you would provide different symbolics for different places for different discrete replacement.
Yeah, that would be used in environment variables, but this case I'm particularly on the CLI override, and that's why in the $SK command, it works with param file and one single value, because we can discuss it offline, because the with CLI only works on one entity at a time. So there's no issue of like, do you want to update the package or the action, or which action?
Yeah, we actually, Pretty actually discussed this a few days ago, that we have we do this whole thing across all entities. So we have a different series of problems we have to address.
Yeah. So I think going global like this is okay, but we should have an option saying param, and then the next thing we can have like a DSL or something like to filter like only.
Well, you do have options to point out. You do have a deployment file, so if you want to control things discretely,
I know.
We can overlay.
I'm just talking about the CLI. I'm not talking about the other options. Yeah. Yep. I know. Okay. It's going to come up, like either me now or later, but somebody will bring it up.
The point is, you can do it, and then that will be an enhancement that would be helpful for some people.
Just make a note on the docs or on the output of this thing that says this is a global thing. That's
sure.
But it's good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to change what you have.
Yeah, no, I will have
some
maybe
other people were looking for this building block. So this
if you're asking for a significant change, this might go crazy, because she's been working on this for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, this has been a huge change going through basically the whole source code and overriding and going through project level and then package and action and all entity inputs. So I'll make a note.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's good for now. We make a note that this is a global thing.
Yeah.
The more I think the top request was people wanted to hide secrets through environment variables when they do deployment. So this is good. This will help CI/CD pipelines.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know this applies to the real production thing. So this is actually a building block for real CI/CD pipelines that customers use.
Cool. Yeah, sure, definitely. Okay. So let's go back to the agenda. All right. So next is Chetan, Tyson. You guys Want to talk about the Cosmos DB?
Yeah. So, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Let me share. So, not much presentation
Okay,
here.
let
I
me stop
can just
sharing.
share the current. Okay. So, you guys can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, currently the artifact store implementation for Cosmos DBPR is pretty much complete. It is blocked on one dependency of JSON library used by uh, Azure SDK, which is not allowed by Apache licenses. So we are working with them to get rid of that dependency. So once we have a release from their side with that change done, we should be able to merge it here. As of now, we are using it in some of our testing environments. Uh, it basically replaces CouchDB with a Cosmos DB storage, which is similar to CouchDB in terms of it's like a document store, which stores the whole. So similar constructs are there. As we have 3 databases in Couch, we have similarly like 3 collections we call in Cosmos with subject and active, and they store the required data. The data is similar to the JSON that is stored in Couch with some transformations in terms of computed fields, which is explained here. Yeah, and yeah, the required indexes are created, and it allows you to set TTL, so activations can be expired after a certain time by the database itself. Pretty much, yeah, similar feature set in terms of what you have with Couch. Yeah, so I don't know once the JSON dependency is fixed, can be merged, pending any other review comments from any of the other reviews. And the next pending thing would be to complete the attachment store work, which is currently blocked in terms of review side. The PRs are up, and I'm waiting for the review feedback. So once that is done, that would complete this whole Cosmos review story soon. That's it. Any questions? Okay. So that's all from my side.
Okay. Thanks, Chapin. So you have PR, right? Once it's ready, maybe you can ask folks to on the list for the review.
Yep. Yeah, that's what's there.
Yeah. All right. So next is Dominic. He wanted to go over the scheduling algorithm proposal and also wanted to show some existing performance issues. Dominic, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can take it over. Yes.
Okay. Actually, this is my first time to join this meeting, but
Oh, wow.
I need the time to introduce myself. So, can I introduce myself now?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, folks. My name is Dominic, and I'm working for Naver Korea. And especially, I'm working on the in-house serverless platform using OpenWhisk. And I have been thinking of joining this meeting, but actually the meeting started about 12 a.m. here. So it's now midnight here, so it has been not easy for me to join the meeting. But anyway, I finally got the chance, so I'm a little bit excited now. Okay, nice to meet you guys.
Yep, same here. Welcome.
Okay. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I will first address the potential performance issues in current implementation. These are the main issues. First, we are choosing the home invoker using hash, and sorry. When scheduling the activation to an invoker, the capacity of other invokers is not considered now. And generally, Docker command is very slow in comparison with normal activation, but it is not also considered for the scheduling. And normally, Docker pause and unpause take about 130 to 400 milliseconds, and Docker remove and create take about 700 to the 1 and 300 milliseconds. So let's see what happens in the real scene. Let's assume there are two actions, action A and action B, and both have same hash value, 0. So in this case, both will be scheduled to the invoker 0. Can you see my mouse point? Okay, so both will be scheduled to the invoker 0, and each invoker has 4 slots here, so this invoker 0 is already saturated. And once the execution of action A is finished and the action B is invoked, then it will be sent to the home invoker. Then it will remove the warmed container of action A. Then action B will be running, and if execution of action B is finished and action A is invoked, then it will also be sent to the home invoker. Then it will remove the container of warmed container of action B. In this way, if action request comes alternatively, then it will remove the warmed container over the others. Actually, container deletion takes about 700 milliseconds. So it happens again in worst case, then it will aggravate the performance. In best case, if two actions have different hash value, then they will be assigned to the different invokers, and the containers can be fully reused. The next one is invocation does not wait for the previous run. So in this situation, invoker 0 is already saturated. So request for action A will be sent to the other than home invoker, in this case invoker 1. And if for some reason there was no available pre-armed container, for example, if previous some request can take all existing pre-armed containers, then pre-armed containers are being created and they are not available. And at this time, if new request comes, then it will trigger the cold start. Then it will also take about another 700 milliseconds. So if execution time of action A is 20 milliseconds, then it will take about 720 milliseconds. In best case, even though the home invoker is saturated, if the request is sent to the home invoker and wait for the previous run, then it will wait for the previous run to be finished. And once it is finished, then it will take the warmed container of action for action A. Then it will take about 40 milliseconds in this case. It's about 18 times more in worst case. Actually, action can run almost 5 minutes, so in that case, it does not matter. But if execution time of action is lesser than 700 milliseconds, then waiting for the previous run is much better than waiting for the cold start. The next one is invoker coordination. Actually, currently, invoker coordinate all messages in serial order. So let's assume message queue can fetch almost 5 messages at the same time. So in this case, requests come in this way, then the message queues will fetch at most 5 messages, and invoker will process these requests in serial order, like this. And if invoker fails to schedule the request for action A, then it will reschedule that request. The next time message queue can fetch only 4 new messages. So if invoker fails to schedule 3 actions, then it will need to reschedule the 3 actions, and it can only fetch 2 new messages. It means if there are some requests blocked or rescheduled for some reason, then it will affect the invocation of subsequent requests. Okay. And the next one is the concurrent limit. As of now, we have these limits, and I will mostly explain about concurrent invocation limits. So it is an edge case. If I compare this as just 1, then the logic behind this limit is like this. Once requests come to the controller will increase the limit value of the given namespace to 1. Then it will send the request to Kafka and invoker and finally the container. Then container will execute the code and send the response back to the invoker and Kafka and controller. Finally, the response arrives to the controller, then it will decrease the limit value. It means if response is arrived at Kafka layer but not yet arrived in controller, at this time if new requests come, then controller will always reject the request with too many request error. Sorry. It means even though the real number of concurrent running container is lesser than limit, controller always returns too many requests until it receives the activation completion message. When I did the benchmark with limit value as 5, I could only invoke 3 concurrent containers. Maybe we can do more fine-grained control over limit. I think this is the most critical issue. The performance is not deterministic. So even though there are some resources in other invokers, TPS can be less if the home invoker of actions are same. And once action intervention occurs, then TPS decrease. So TPS is not proportional to the number of invokers. So under this situation, it's not used to say what our official TPS is. And TPS is highly dependent on container creation and deletion. So once cold start is occur, then performance is degraded. Actually, this data is from my benchmark result. So when I did benchmark with 1 action and 100 virtual users, I got about 20K TPS. But when I used 10 actions, I got only 6,000 TPS. And when I used 100 actions, I got only 30 TPS. Not only for the actions, if I increase the number of users like this, TPS also decreased. Under this situation, we cannot say that our system supports neither 20K TPS nor 30 TPS because TPS is changed based on the number of actions and number of users. Okay. Ideally, it would be great if it works like this. If the maximum size of invoker is 20 and one container can serve 100 TPS, then one invoker can have 20 containers, so it can serve 2000 TPS. And if we have 10 invokers, then we can serve about 20K TPS. So if the requirement of new user is 20K TPS, then we can just add 10 more invokers. This is an ideal case. So let me summarize the problem. The intervention can happen among many actions because they can have same hash value. And invocation does not wait for the previous run. So it should wait for the cold start in worst case. And invoker coordinate all methods, so there can be some blocking in subsequent request processing, and we can have more fine-grained control over execution limit. And TPS is highly dependent on container creation and deletion. So finally, TPS is not deterministic. Okay, so I proposed a new scheduling algorithm. I named it as autonomous container scheduling. Actually, this algorithm is not that complete yet, so there are many parts to improve and there are many things to define. And this is the reason why I want to discuss with you guys and to make more people get involved in the discussion. Anyway, any question until here? Okay. Actually,
Dominic, just a time check. You have 7 more minutes.
7 more minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, I have about 50 pages, but I'm not sure I can make it.
So pretty make sure you get a moderator for next call before.
Next call.
We can go over, but before people start leaving, make sure we get a moderator signed up.
Okay. So can I move on or just?
Okay. Let me pause and let's get a moderator for next week. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
So that would be for the June 6th meeting, Wednesday, June 6th?
June 6th, yes. Anybody up for? I can do it if nobody else is.
Justin, are you around? I mean, I know we asked you last time and you were busy. Are you around June 6th? Would you want to do it?
I'm actually, but
I think I cannot make it in 6 minutes. Sorry?
Say again, Justin?
His audio is not working.
So
I think it will take about.
Tyson is saying he will moderate.
Yay, Tyson! Thanks.
Okay, and one more announcement before. So we're moving back to Zoom. We got a license or already, and yeah. So next week we'll be back on Zoom.
Yeah, I'll update the Google Calendar and send out a notice on the email list, but we're back to Zoom for at least for the next year.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Dominic. You can continue and see how long we can take it.
I think I need at least about another 20 minutes, so I think I cannot make it today.
Oh, okay.
So should I move on or just wait until the next bi-weekly meeting?
We can wait till next bi-weekly meeting, which is in 2 weeks anyways.
Okay, then I will share this new algorithm next time.
Okay.
Do you have this posted someplace where we can add a link?
Link about this material?
This presentation, yeah.
Okay. Where can I upload it? Is there any good place?
How about CWiki?
Okay,
CWiki.
CWiki, yeah.
Do I have any permission to upload this file to CWiki? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, if you can message me your email address, I'll see if I can add it. If you can't do it, you can just send it. You can just let me know, and you can send it to me, Matt, or Pretty or anybody, Carlos, and we can post it for you.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
And also, do you have the benchmarking that you did? Do you have any source code or anything that we can leverage?
Okay. Actually, this is the benchmark result. I have used NGrinder. It's open source benchmarking tools, but it's a little bit different with WIK or any other tools which is being used in OpenWhisk now. So is it okay to share some benchmark script for NGrinder? Okay. I'll share it. Okay. Okay. So I will ping you, Matt, and I will upload these materials in CWiki.
Is there any summary you'd like to give, or any overview of what your proposal is? Any what the change would be, just before we hang up?
Actually, I think I shared in the mailing list. But here, main page is different. This describes the whole flow of my new scheduling algorithm. Maybe you can refer to this.
Probably definitely want to get Marcus involved. You may, as a suggestion, you may want to reach out to Marcus directly, because he's the guy who's been making changes to those algorithms, and also has big plans for changes in the future. So I think that your best bet, besides asking people on the email list and here for review, I think you'll get the best review from talking to Marcus. Get him engaged directly if you can. That's my point.
This is right in the mailing list already. Marcus commented Python. One of the aspects is that there's we're not really sure. I think Tyson put it out of using topics or that many topics to scale it using topics, custom topics. So that's something that we need to look more deep into. What will be the problems on that?
Yeah, actually, I have some pages for that also, like this. But maybe I can share it next time.
Yeah, I think that being able to reproduce your tests is key. And I think that everyone's open. We have a performance repo. You can actually if you figure out a way to add a README and upload your tests and whatever needs to be installed, that might help people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, so next time I will describe this from here. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And anybody have any question about the current issues until this phase?
No, I think that's a very good explanation. Actually, the first part, I would like to get a copy of the.
Yeah,
this explains the internals of the scheduler and the load balancer, and we don't have good docs and diagrams. So this could be a good starting point to have that information.
Same thought. At the end of the day, we need something like this in main OpenWhisk documentation. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you guys want me to make a diagram for that, or any other guys?
No, just posting the slides. It's good. It's good material. I think you don't have to do anything else. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Dominic. All right, we are on the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.